You see this? I'm cracking this open. This is like a sweet potato geode. I gotta show you this. That is going to taste so good. That's over a foot long. That has to be. Guten gardening, everybody. Well, the voles have been hard at work this season avoiding our potato crop, but apparently from what I can see, being a little more selective and focusing in on our sweet potato crop, especially some of our container sweet potatoes. So today I'm going to get out here. We've been about 115 days from the time of planting, and I'm going to do my best today to harvest the sweet potatoes out of these 17-gallon containers before the voles take any more of it. Now, I don't really know what to expect. I said this in a previous sweet potato harvest video, but if there were one crop that I was most worried about this season, one crop that I was not sure was actually thriving, it was our sweet potatoes. Now, last season we struggled mightily with our potatoes. This season I'm hoping what I'm seeing in here is not a massive struggle for our sweet potatoes. Instead, I'm hoping we still get some good yields. So I'm going to introduce you to the different varieties, how we started these slips, and everything else when we talk about it in our video today, and we start this sweet potato harvest. So our containers are either 16 or 17-gallon food safe containers. Most of these we actually bought from Menards, and some of these containers we've been growing in now for 3 seasons. That's 3 seasons of Zone 5 Wisconsin winters where we've left these outside with soil in. And so we're starting to see a little bit of disrepair for some of them. You can't lean on them too much, you might snap the edge. But these are food safe containers, most of them probably between $10 to $15 a piece. There was a time during the pandemic where we couldn't get a hold of any of them, but they're out there, they're available now. We'll put a link in the description to some that are comparable. All right, let me show you the first variety we're going to be harvesting today. All right, the first variety we're going to be harvesting are Vardaman sweet potatoes, and we got these slips from Taterman. Let's go ahead and get this container over here. And the way I harvest these typically, I turn the whole container upside down, and we can see what's going on underneath. Take a look at all the ants crawling around here at the bottom. There's a whole nest inside this hole. It almost looks like there's a whole ant hill, ant colony down inside of here. Well, as far as I know, the ants haven't really caused a massive problem for us in the past with our sweet potatoes, but we'll see. Yeah, there's a whole bunch underneath. All right, first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna look around. And the reason I look around is so we can see if there's anything growing on the outsides. There's a couple on there. All right, I'm hopeful that a lot of them are right here inside looking good. And thus begins the breaking apart. Oh, there's a bunch in here. Oh boy. All right, so Vardaman has a nice light skin to it. Supposed to be a variety that is not as susceptible to cracking. Now I say that, but the last couple of years we experienced a good amount of cracking. So I think part of the issue is dependent on whether or not there's been a ton of rain. Now, one of the things I'm worried about, I've talked about it already, is the amount of potential damage from voles and other critters in here. So far these look lovely. So far, I'm not seeing any damage from voles. I'm not seeing massive sweet potatoes, but these are a great size. There's no doubt about it. All right. Right off to the side here, you can see this soil is a nice mix. We do our best to be as consistent as possible with our mixes, although, you know, in some containers you'll find, let me break this up. Ooh, nice. In some of these containers you'll find the mixes a little bit more dense, but we tried to even that out this season. And what I'm seeing is not any one massive sweet potato. Here, let's pull it through this way. Not any one massive sweet potato, but the quantity and the quality, the fact that we're not seeing damage, that is making that's making me quite happy. And we got a couple of sweet potato fries here as well. Am I enjoying getting in here and getting ants all over me right now? What do you think? But if they're not going to damage our sweet potatoes, then I'm not going to worry about that one little bit. There's a whole bunch more over here. Yeah, okay, so this is what I imagined, and this is what I wondered about. The general size of the sweet potatoes, I was a little bit worried of course, about the damage from the voles, but the general size, because they took a long time to really start thriving. And I think a big part of that was just all that dry weather at the beginning. And containers, of course, are even more impacted by dry weather than in ground, because you're more likely to see them dry out. So when we went away a couple of times this summer and these dried out to some extent, I was really concerned as to whether or not they would continue to grow. I'll tell you something, considering all that, this first container is making me quite happy. Now, not every single sweet potato here is going to come from a sweet potato slip from Taterman. In fact, quite a few of them aren't. Many of the sweet potato slips that we have here are ones that we started on our property. We started here from sweet potatoes, and we started them in a mix this time around. We didn't start any sweet potatoes in water this year. They were all in a mix. So it'll be interesting to see how those perform as well. So I'm going to say it again. There isn't anything here that stands out to be as being massive, but the quality and the fact that there's not really any damage, that's a win for our first bin. That's one bin down. Here comes bin number 2. And these are from slips that we started here at Guten Gardening. And you actually got to see this before I did. We've got one growing right here on the side. And this is a Beauregard sweet potato started here at Guten Gardening. So Beauregard, another delicious flavor. The skin, a little bit darker than the skin that you'd see in the Vardaman, or a good bit darker, I would say. And we've got 3 different slips planted in each one. So 3 slips and getting some nice potatoes out of here. Oh, look at these. That looks really nice. So one of the things that I wanted to point out as I go through this, we have grown some absolutely massive sweet potatoes in the past. And I think part of where those really big ones come in, part of where you get the smaller versions of them, stems from your ability to fertilize, and of course the reliance in our case for these containers on the weather. So we were able to fertilize a couple of times out here, which is what's typical for us. We generally fertilize our sweet potatoes twice during the growing season, and I'd say we did that part correctly, hence some of the results here. Look at that. So we did that part correctly. We just needed the weather maybe to cooperate a little bit more. But yes, that being said, there's another one. There's still some beautiful sweet potatoes in here. Wow. You know, this trend of the animals leaving us alone can continue. I will take that all day. All day. I would rather have, I'm going to say this right now, I'd rather have all of them this size and not damaged than have massive ones and lose half the crop. Are you with me on that? What do you think? Another medium-sized harvest, I would say, but all looking absolutely perfect. Now you can see this tree right here. Those first 2 sweet potato containers that I harvested have grown in a decent amount of shade. The next 2 that I'm going to harvest are growing down here where there is more sunlight for sure. This is a Beauregard sweet potato, and I'm going to start with that. And then I'm going to move over to this red Japanese sweet potato. One thing I can tell you is this whole season long, you see how unhealthy most of this looks? This one has looked the least healthy of any of them out here, I think. And this one has been one of the best looking. What's that going to mean? Let's find out. All right, let's see if I can do this without breaking everything. These are Taterman. There we go. These are Taterman slips. Let's see what we got here. This is the root of a tree. That is not a sweet potato, not one bit. The root of a tree. And this looks like tree root as well. What on earth? Maybe that's why it was so unhealthy looking. And as I look around here, I don't really see any growth on the outside. So let's see if I can break this apart a little bit and see exactly what's going on inside of here. It's like another tree was attacking it, but that's okay. Here is the Beauregard sweet potato. And this one just fell off. But oh, look right over here. Oh, this is all falling apart. But look right over here. Oh, beautiful. That is a beautiful Beauregard. Come on. I think the one on this side died back pretty quickly. Look at the roots of whatever it was. Whatever tree was trying to grow up in here. It's just taken over. Well, no wonder if one of the sweet potato slips didn't do so well. What on earth? Well, you're going to go far away. I definitely see something here though. And that something is really nice. Man, the last sweet potato harvest I did was so frustrating. I think, oh, nice. Look at this. More sun, bigger sweet potatoes. The last harvest I did, I think I harvested more voles than I did sweet potatoes. And so, of course, I was worried. There's something right here. Take a look. I was worried about this, you know, when you're starting to see those initial results. But so far, I am incredibly, incredibly happy with getting all of these undamaged sweet potatoes. Now, am I confident at this point that every single one of these bins is not going to have any damage? No. The ones that were up by the other area where I harvested that had a lot of vole damage, there's a couple containers up there, and I've seen some digging in there. So I'm thinking that might cause us, a little bit more frustration, but that's okay, because we are starting off nicely. Yes, you can tell that's not the amount that you would get from 3 slips, because one of them definitely died back, but those are beautiful, untouched Beauregard sweet potatoes. All right, next up are these Japanese reds. I love these sweet potatoes. Ooh, take a look at this worm. That is such a beautiful thing to see in these beds. I'm going to put them over in the other one. Now, these Japanese red sweet potatoes are sweet potatoes we've been growing here for the last 3 years. And what I can tell you about these, they tend, from our experience, to be a little bit thinner, and they tend to go really nice and deep, like all the way toward the bottom of these containers. You see this? I'm cracking this open. This is like a sweet potato geode. I got to show you this. These are beautiful sweet potatoes. Take a look at that. Now, these are starting to sprout again. The other varieties haven't been doing this, but these are, whoa! This is the biggest one. This is the biggest sweet potato so far today. I got to get it detached. Take a look at that. There's so much to enjoy with this sweet potato. Oh, like I said, they tend to be a little bit smaller. Yes, except for in this one. Again, I said full sun for this area here. So that's been nice. I'm sure they've appreciated that full sun. Let's see what else we got down in here. Again, you see this? The beginnings of sprouting. That's because we've left them in there. We could have harvested these a couple weeks ago. So what I'm going to do with this one, because it's sprouting so much, I'll probably just get this one going so we can continue growing this variety, since it's already got some greens at the top. And that just means that we're going to have to eat these faster. The ones that are starting to sprout, they're not going to have that storage life. Hey, look! Surprise, surprise! It's another walnut. I gotta keep account of the number of walnuts I harvest. This is probably, what, 9 harvests in a row? All right, take a look at this. You see this splitting right here? That is definitely water damage. Things got a little bit too wet for it, and it split right open. Well, we had one really nice sweet potato slip here. These are definitely the biggest sweet potatoes so far. All right, next up, we have 2 containers here. One is a Centennial, and one is a Georgia Jet. Both of these are from Taterman. I gotta tell you, so far this season, our Centennial sweet potatoes have not treated us well. They haven't been very big producers, so it'll be interesting to see if this changes my perception. Again, season over season, usually what we do is we say, this variety did well, so we keep growing it, or this variety didn't do well, so we don't grow it anymore. Well, from the outside, you can see a lot of really small sweet potatoes, but what does that mean? Does that mean that these little strings are going to be it? Let's break this apart and see what's on the inside. All right, that's a tiny one, a tiny Centennial. The Centennial, there we go, has an orangish skin and an orange interior. Apparently, it's a really, really popular sweet potato. Popular to eat, popular to grow, especially in our area. But again, what we've found so far is they've been smaller. And so far in this bin, they've been smaller. Now this is a bin that's probably just about, if not a little bit more shaded out than even those first two bins that I grew in. So this has the shade of two raised beds beside it. All right, I mean, look at what we got so far. That's small. That is small. They're thin. Probably so far, this is the bin where I'd have to say, that's not great. Can you imagine if this actually blew up full size, what that would look like? I can imagine it. But it didn't do it. And instead, oh, there we go. Yeah, so this is what I would say would be more expected. Not the one on the left here. This one right here. You see how long and how much potential these sweet potatoes have? But for some reason, maybe it is that the shading, maybe that's the problem here for this variety. Maybe it's not the variety's fault. Maybe it's ours and where we planted it. But for some reason, we've just gotten a whole lot that weren't big. But it looks like there is one over here. Just as I said all that, just as I talked all about it, we get a massive Centennial sweet potato. That is going to taste so good. That's over a foot long. That has to be. All right, it is Georgia Jet time. We love growing Georgia Jets. We've had some great success. If there was one that was a beautiful shape that I absolutely adored, it's Georgia Jet. It's got a nice roundish, or maybe oval shape to it. But this sweet potato bucket, I can tell you up front, there's nothing on the outside, was the most shaded of any of these. So I don't know. Ooh, you see that beautiful color? That's the Georgia Jet color right there. It's like a reddish pinkish kind of color. And you see this shape? Now they do get a good bit bigger, and hopefully there's some in here that are even bigger. But this is the shape. It's like a traditional sweet potato shape, in my opinion. There's another one right there, right down at the bottom. Ooh, take a look at that. You see the roly-polies in here? Now, the roly-polies have done some damage to our potatoes in the past. We haven't seen so much damage to our sweet potatoes. I don't know how much they like them, but we definitely have our share of those roly-polies in our garden. How about you? You see any damage, or have you had any damage from roly-polies in your garden for any of your vegetables out there? I think our potatoes are more likely to be attacked than anything else. Okay, you see right down in here? That's going to be a really nice one. This is what I'm talking about. That shape, that's when I think sweet potatoes, I think this shape right here. Absolutely beautiful. I love the color of the Georgia Jet. I love the taste and texture of it. We did a sweet potato taste test video, I think 2 seasons ago now, where we tried a bunch of different varieties and we talked about which ones we liked the best. If you've never watched that video, I recommend you checking it out, because we have grown a large number of sweet potatoes here at Guten Gardening, and a large number of varieties, a large selection of sweet potatoes. And of course, a video like that is just going to be my opinion as to what tastes good, but I think it's worthwhile to hear a nice description of the different varieties of sweet potatoes. So if you're considering growing sweet potatoes, or you have different varieties, you're not sure what variety to grow, you can at least have a live kind of experience of somebody eating them, talking about the different textures. Another walnut, thank you very much. I think that's beneficial when it comes to making a decision, because not all sweet potatoes are created even close to equal. And as I mentioned, this one had so much shade. I'm not shocked that we got this many at all, but they look nice, don't they? Now you might be wondering how I think this harvest is going. We're not getting massive yields, but we're getting healthy yields. I am enjoying this harvest. All right, this next variety, I'm going to discover what it is because it didn't get labeled when I planted. So we got a surprise variety coming up now. Now in terms of where we are in our garden right now, we are actually at a spot where we're right by the big keyhole potato bed. And those potatoes did quite well, but that means we're also close to where the voles are. Well, you know what I think? I'm pulling one out right here. I think the surprise variety is a Vardaman. There we go. We got some Vardaman sweet potatoes growing in here. And the other Vardamans performed pretty well. There were quite a few of them, and the size was pretty good. And as this falls apart all over the place, I'm going to say that you can see quite a few nice sized sweet potatoes in here. Check this out. One right after the other. All perfect, all edible, none massive whatsoever, but really nice looking sweet potatoes. Again, no cracking on these yet that I've seen, and no damage. Come on, let's do this. Let's have a year where we have minimal damage to all of our sweet potatoes and all of our potatoes. Wouldn't that be amazing? I mean, if you deal with critters in your garden, look at that beauty. If you deal with critters in your garden, which we all do, is the garden after all, and you get a crop with no damage, 1, 2, you know how that feels. Right here we've got a bunch of sweet potato fries, a couple bigger ones here, but a bunch of sweet potato fries, all definitely edible. Let's see what's attached to this one. Look at that! Whoa! That's loaded down. 1, 2, 3. They're all nice size. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I got 10 sweet potatoes on this slip. Each of them are fantastic. These are beautiful sweet potatoes. I love to see that. That is the kind of yield I'm looking for just in general. And they could have gotten bigger. All right, we have 3 more containers left here. We have Hannah, Vardaman, and Hannah, and all of these are Guten gardening sweet potato slips. This is another example of a bucket that's not quite as high quality as the earlier ones I was harvesting from. That doesn't mean we don't grow some sweet potatoes in there, I hope. Ooh, our Hannah sweet potatoes. These are another variety, the Hannah that we started from store-bought. And this is our 3rd season growing our Hannah. The Hannah's a drier, starchier kind of sweet potato. The texture-wise, it's something I definitely enjoy, but it's not that traditional kind that you would probably use, in my opinion, for like a sweet potato casserole or something like that. You saw how it looked like some of these had died back, but we still got some really nice ones growing in here. And the Hannahs, as a variety, have typically been pretty consistent in terms of shape and overall size. You can see, as I said, some of those died back. There's a lot going on where this particular set was growing. And what I mean by a lot going on, I mean there's a tomato plant there, potato plants growing over, so I was a little bit concerned as they were growing that they might have a little bit of difficulty being shaded out by some of the other plants. Obviously not in the container, but we're still getting some really nice ones. The interior of the Hannah is a light colored flesh. It's really beautiful sweet potato in my opinion. I'm curious if any of you have a favorite color or favorite type of sweet potato that you've eaten. And in terms of colors, we've had purple, reds, oranges, all different kinds of colors. Oh, there it is. There it is. Our first sweet potato of this entire harvest that I see a whole bunch of damage. This is completely eaten up. That's our first one. That takes something to be able to say that we've gone this far without seeing that vole damage. Again, especially considering the possibilities up here. Yep, there it is. So there's the disappointment. They always pick the biggest ones too. They're pretty good at that. That being said, I'm kind of surprised I didn't scare a couple up in here. They might have left once they ate that big one. But we still, oh, see, there's another nice one. We still got a ton in here of decent size with no damage. All right, here's what I'm going to tell you about this Vardaman container. This one definitely expanded. It spread out the most. So some of these vines getting out there probably 8 to 10 feet. So let's see what that means in terms of production. This container is cracked up, but you know what? I can see sweet potatoes all the way at the, there you see right down in here, all those sweet potatoes at the bottom. What does that mean in terms of our overall production? No idea. Take a look at all these roots. So many roots in this one, holding it all together. Best way to figure out how we did, break it apart, get right down in here, see how many this ended up producing. This one feels like it's down in here a little bit farther. Ooh, yeah it is. That's nice. Okay, that's nice. Really nice size sweet potato right there. Okay, I actually thought that was going to be even bigger than it was. No problem at all. I'm trying to, this is kind of tough to break apart. This is probably more so than any of the other bins that I've done so far. There's another nice one right down in here. There it is. Look at that. You can uncover these. Just scrape it away. We excavate our sweet potatoes. This is a big one. This is a fantastic one. Okay, I'm going to break it off of the slip right there. Oh boy. It's still coming. Wow. Look at the color. Look at the beauty of that. And there's not a single bit of damage because we've come out here before there's been any kind of big frost. So that's great. That means that we're not worried about, losing these to a frost. The worst that's happening for most of these is a little bit of splitting. But a lot of times that splitting has a little bit of time to heal over. And what that means is you're not going to get a ton of storage out of them necessarily, but you can still, you don't have to eat them right away. They're still gonna last well enough. Now let's see what we got up in here. We got some other ones that are pretty good. One right after the other. Every single one of these sweet potatoes means, one, more sweet potatoes that I can start next season, because I can grow more sweet potato slips from this and all the other varieties that we're getting out of here. And two, it means more really nutritious food that I can feed my family. Well, the question I'm sure that's in your mind is, did I save the best or the least for last? Well, this is the one where it looks like there's the most tunneling. So let's see what's left in this last one. There's so many holes up here, so much tunneling. I don't know what to expect. Oh, you hear this break apart? This one is done for. I think this blue plastic container is done for. Well, that's what I call a mislabeled sweet potato container, because that is not Hannah. That looks more like Beauregard to me. That happens sometimes. You think you know what you've planted. These are from our garden again. Ooh, there it is. You see how big this was going to be? Ooh, cut off right here. Part of it's still edible. And they left us this one. They left us one. See, you never know. That's why you got to do the harvest. You never know what you're going to have inside for these root crops. You can plan and plan and plan, and something comes along, something eats it up. You can plan and plan and plan. You can do something poorly and you still get good results. You never know. No, I don't know that anybody would argue that this is a massive amount of sweet potatoes, but I'm going to argue that these are some really high quality sweet potatoes, and that I'm really well pleased with the fact that we got all of these and saved them from any kind of damage, even while taking multiple vacations this summer and enjoying time with family. we still got some pretty good results. Well, folks, I was so worried going into this video that we weren't going to get much of a yield at all and that they were going to all be eaten up. And surprise, surprise, I'm pleased with the yield. No, it's not our biggest harvest ever. It's not a massive harvest, but it's a healthy harvest. And that's what we asked for. We want a healthy harvest. We want some food for our family. And we got lots of different colors of the rainbow here, huh? This is gonna be some delicious eating and a lot of different varied tastes too. And I'm really excited to get these inside. Well, folks, we hope you enjoyed today's sweet potato harvest video. It's a lot of fun being out here. If you're on Team Sweet Potato, go ahead and leave hashtag Team Sweet Potato in the comments if you haven't already done so. And if you did enjoy today's video, don't forget to give us a like, leave us a comment, remember to share and subscribe, and most importantly, remember, when you're with us, you are good to grow.